Alright guys, Scrappy again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. The second day of Group Play at the Esports World Cup. 8 matches to be played. 8 teams will be eliminated from the tournament. 4 teams though already advanced confirmed their spot into the bracket play. OpTic Gaming were among them. Dashy with lots of thoughts on yesterday's games. Some wholesome moments with his team at Mercules and why they're looking particularly ready for bracket play. Big drama though elsewhere because FaZe 100 Thieves certainly at risk today. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. We have plenty to get into. We're going to start here. We're doing the BP Awards again. You guys might remember we did it last year, celebrating some of the greatness around the competitive COD scene. We're doing like 16, 17 different categories. Some of them are going to be, well, basically the community can vote in all of them. Some of them are fully fan voted. Some are otherwise. The voting's going to open in just a couple of days' time after the World Cup is over, right? So yeah, we have plenty of awards. We're going to do a show on the 10th of August. It's actually going to be sick. We're going to do it proper like presentation style and everything. We're working on a few ideas. So that show is happening in a couple of weeks, and in a few days' time, the fan voting is going to open. So I'll let you guys know when that is going to be available. Now, let's talk about the final match we didn't get time to cover yesterday. Boston played Toronto. Now, this was a really late match over there, right? Because, I mean, this must have finished at least like 2 in the morning, half 2 in the morning. Actually, it was probably later, maybe. I'm not sure. Something in that ballpark out in Riyadh, the technical delays, it meant that things went very late. And look, I'm sure for some of these players, some of the jet lag was kicking in. But fair play, because Toronto or Movistar Koi, you know, they locked in, they clutched up. And Ape had a really good series here. There has been lots of gas around this player. People saying that he's pretty damn good. Lots of that gas was actually coming from his own teammate in JoeDeceives. And, well, they dominated this series. Map 1 was an absolute bloodbath on the vault. The Hassie was the chance for Boston to get back into the series. They didn't. And then Game 3 was relatively clear-cut as well. So, yeah, Toronto get the job done 3-0. They confirm their spot into the bracket play as well. And, well, Boston now find themselves on the verge of elimination. They'll need to win another series, and they will be favourites to do so. We'll see the bracket as it's playing out in the coming minutes. JoeDeceives says, annoying situation for them, all the tech issues, not sure who he plays Saturday. This is pretty cool to see all the players doing this. Now, Benji Fishy, who's a former Fortnite kid, now he plays Valorant for Heretics, he set the record for this at like 80 or something. It does seem like that pad on the far right there is giving him a bit of an issue, like he's tapping it sometimes and it's not registering, but it's kind of cheese the way that he's going about this, right? Because he's basically just spamming them, and you know, if they turn blue immediately, then great, and if they don't, then it is what it is. So interesting strategy anyway. Dashy thought it was a pretty funny approach. Clay apparently got to 75 on this, so he's not far off the record, but we'll see if anyone can actually break that over the course of the weekends. This I thought was pretty cool. We put together a graphic, although Boston weren't in here, so there was some apologies to Boston. This is their overall franchise record with 2 top 3 finishes, but these are all of the other franchises and their placements and their record in the history of the CDL. Of course, FaZe are going to top the lot here, right? You know, 14 seconds, 11 championships, 1 ring in their time. Pretty remarkable compared to the fact that OpTic got 2 rings in this time period, as we know. Obviously, Huntsman back in the day, but they weren't around for too long. So yeah, these are pretty much all the franchises in the era of the CDL. But it's an important day and an important weekend because FaZe, after all their dominance over the last few years, this could be the final weekend. If anything, if yesterday is anything to go by, and if they can't play better today or tomorrow for the rest of the weekends, FaZe are at serious risk of needing to make a roster change in the coming weeks. This was Drazah, by the way. He was asked by Blaze, hey, like, are you and Scrap boys now after what happened? And he said, no, like, that's definitely not the case. That was some creative editing on the part of the Esports World Cup, so that was pretty funny. We'll see if they correct some of the things today. I do agree that they really loved this kill feed color of, it was like a dark green / grey, and like orange would be for one team, and then they would have this weird like darkish green for the other team. Some team brandings it worked for, most it really didn't, so hopefully they can figure that out. Comms are a bit of a nightmare, so yeah, you know, there are a few issues that it would be nice if they smoothed out, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been, I thought, day one. What was terrible was Omit versus FaZe, how they managed to throw that series away, even without considering the Game 5 Round 11 that they squandered. You know, they had some other opportunities earlier in the series as well they could have beaten, but as Mamba says, we not done, and that's pretty compelling, right? Because there is a very good chance today that we get a rematch here and that Omit play FaZe again, because we'll see the bracket in a second, and that would give them the perfect opportunity for the redemption they potentially could have had the first time around. this was that FaZe moment yesterday where they, I mean, nearly pulled off one of the craziest comebacks ever. The thing is, they shouldn't ever find themselves, I think, FaZe in this type of position to be down 140 points. And even though they did eventually make the comeback, you know, they kind of bottled it with the spawns at the end, and then Heretics won anyway. So, crazy game. And from the FaZe perspective, I mean, Drazah was saying, look, GG's Miami, couldn't get a kill in the control. We had the map 4 in our hands, lost 3-1. It's not the end of the world for FaZe, because they'll still look at their group and say, well, look, all we've got to do is beat a Challengers team again, and we'll qualify for the bracket, which is true. And then you get to the bracket and it's single elimination. So, coming out as the second seed of the group doesn't really matter, although it gives you a more challenging game. And it does feel like Heretics now, you know, when they were the Florida Mutineers, they were always OpTic's boogeyman. And now it seems that they've become a Heretics. They are dealing more comfortably with FaZe. I don't know what it is, but recently we're starting to see a bit of a trend like that. And we'll just quickly say, because I've been keeping up with what aBeZy's been tweeting, and he finally, like, he didn't tweet since the 28th of June. Then he finally tweeted yesterday because clearly FaZe needed to do some sort of Battle Beaver promotion. But even after yesterday's game, he didn't tweet anything. I'm not saying he should. I think it's fine to take a break off social media. Like, Shotzzy did the same. He didn't really tweet anything in quite some time. But I still think it's interesting that even now they're at the tournament again, aBeZy's just going full radio silence mode when it comes to any sort of reaction here. And it's probably very sensible, actually. And it's not like aBeZy was playing badly yesterday. He was actually pretty good. You know, really, again, the pimp was under the spotlight, right? Like, Simp was not struggling exactly, but, you know, struggling compared to Simp levels for sure. Like, certainly Simp's hardpoint has been very lackluster. The thing is for Simp is that he's the hill kitten. Like, they literally make him have 2 minutes plus in the hill every game. I don't really know if Simp should be the man doing that, personally. But, yeah, there's lots of debates right now on FaZe. I want to reserve a bit of judgment until I see how the rest of the weekend goes. But if they play anything like they did yesterday, it just feels like they're so uncoordinated. It's tough to imagine they make a deep run in this tournament, especially when you've got Real saying that, I mentioned this right at the end of yesterday's video, but if you guys didn't watch right to the end, I thought I'd say it again. Real tweeted after the series, people would rather play for a positive KD than for the win. Sob emoji. So, you know, as I said yesterday, right, prizes for guessing who that might be, let's say, attributed to. Kenny was commenting on their series. Of course, they got absolutely piss-slammed by Cloud9, who then got 3-0'd by OpTic. So, yeah, Kenny and G2 in the losers bracket. We'll see if they can get to at least the decider match, and we'll see how the bracket plays out in a second. Just before we get there, talk about the OpTic guys, because they, very clean day yesterday, 6-0 map counts. No real stress or pressure was on them too much. You know, they eased into it and they pulled ahead when they needed to. I think really against Cloud9, the C9 series is always going to be quite competitive because, you know, Cloud9 are solid and the control was very close on the Hacienda. But I think it was that game one that just kind of showed, yeah, OpTic still are definitely the team to beat right now. And both FaZe and Thieves looked vulnerable to say the very least yesterday, where OpTic didn't particularly, and, you know, certainly didn't play their best stuff either. So I think OpTic can, you know, they can certainly play better than they did yesterday, which is pretty scary for the competition, I would say, right now. So OpTic get the 2-3-0s. Shotzzy says, day one finish, bracket play next. And I wanted to show a couple of cool clips here, actually. So they sat down on the couch afterwards. Karma was here, and he was discussing what it was like to coach right now. But I thought what Dashy had to say was really nice, talking about, we know his relationship with Formal, right? How Formal saw a lot of himself in Dashy and tried to help him become the player that he is today, who can actually, you know, win multiple world championships and stuff like this. Now, Dashy also makes a comment at the end about making sure he's at practice on time and all these things. I thought was pretty entertaining. But it's interesting, right, how things have come kind of full circle. Dashy and Formal played together for a year before then Formal retired, as we know, went to Halo. And then Dashy kind of tried to keep on that legacy. Didn't really work out the next couple of years. There was lots of drama. And now the results are starting to really come through. But Mercules could be in a similar position the other way around, where obviously Mercules, as any player would, as an AR player in cards, you know, have followed Dashy's career probably very closely over the last decade or so, and now he gets the opportunity to do something similar to a new teammate.
Did it impact your plan at all as a coach?
I mean, I'd like it to impact him more, but I don't know, like, it was on such a short notice, the change, and I mean, I want to do more, but I don't know, sometimes, like, I'm not gonna lie, personally right now, I'm not, like, super comfortable with it because I want to call, so, like, I'm not gonna call things, but I want to help them. But sometimes, like, I don't know, sometimes it just doesn't feel right. Like, we're not used to it.
I want to talk about you, though, in your role. You're one of the best ARs of all time. How do you feel? What is your job right now with Mercules in the lineup? What is your role specifically as an AR?
Dude, it's pretty crazy because it's coming almost full circle, at least in my career, because I looked up to Matt kind of the same way Mason did with me. So then it's kind of just like me.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's super cute.
Yeah, I guess it is pretty cute. I guess
Super cute.
No, but it's pretty cool just to see it because, I mean, I never thought in my career that somebody would, I don't want to say looked up to me, but definitely admired my gameplay. So it's just trying to help them out in whatever way I can and just trying to be a good teammate, trying to show up on time before everybody tweaks out. You know what I mean? Everybody just assumes the kid's late. Bro, the kid's on time. You know what I mean? And I'm also shooting. So just pretty much just trying to be a good teammate.
I love it, man. Well, you guys have found your form at the perfect time.
We shall see today whether there was any more snaking drama, because yesterday it was a big topic. There was actually this that was doing the rounds as well. So Neptune came out with a clip to say, look, I wasn't snaking. This actually was Neptune versus Scrap here, and it kind of, I don't think what Scrap does here is like technically dirty, but like he definitely hits a couple of pumps there. He doesn't really recharge, maybe he gets away with it. But I just thought it was interesting that Ghosty was complaining about the snaking and basically said that Thieves are going to start throwing the GAs out of the window, and we'll see how exciting that becomes if that actually does happen, right? And we get to see absolute chaos on the map for the rest of the weekend. So that was the topic of last night. We'll see what the teams actually get up to today, because I'm certainly expecting more GAs to get broken at some point. I mean, we've got 8 games on our hands, and the games look like this. Well, actually, these are the games of Saturday, Sunday. This is the playoff bracket. So OpTic is the number 1 seed out of Group A. They advanced here. Heretics is the number 1 seed out of Group D. They advanced here. Movistar Koi were number 1 seed out of Group C, and Surge number 1 seed out of Group B. So that's how it transpired. And actually, it does look like here they will be playing B2, C2, D2, and A2. So OpTic's opponent will be the 2nd seed coming out of Group B, which, well, we'll see who that's going to be in a second, right? But we already said it. So, yeah, it does look like they're going to be seeding the groups like this, which is, well, pretty spicy, to be honest. I mean, so, yeah, that's how they've played it out, basically, where the number 1 seeds are filtered like this, and then the number 2 seeds are filtered such as this. So B2 will play OpTic, C2 will play Heretics, D2 play Movistar, and then A2 plays Surge. Who are those teams going to be? Well, this is the way the bracket currently looks in the group stages. So this is a GSL style bracket is what we call this, or GSL style groups, where it's basically win 2 before you lose 2. I mean, it's double elimination in a group stage is effectively how it works, which is a perfectly fine format. There is also the possibility of doing single round robin. That's also been done in the past. Let's say at the World Championships in COD Past, that's how it used to be. Top 2 advance, bottom 2 go home. That's how it's sometimes been, but there's pros and cons to both, because if you do single round robin, you often get map like count related tiebreakers, which, you know, you could get 3 teams at 2 in 1, or you could get 3 teams at 1 in 2 and 1 team at 3 in 0, and only one of those teams at 1 in 2 makes it based on map count and stuff, and it gets a bit messy. I think I do generally prefer this. The disadvantage of this is that you can get rematches. So, you know, maybe hypothetically Cloud9 are just terrible against FiveFiz, and FiveFiz would smoke them off the map, but Cloud9 match up really well against G2, and they're probably going to get to play G2 twice. That would be the theory, but who knows, right? So anyway, these are the games as they're going to transpire. First of all, it's the loser's game, and if you lose that, you go home immediately. If you win it, you get the chance to fight for your spot. So you would expect G2 to handle business against FiveFiz and get to rematch Cloud9 and do a better job maybe than they did yesterday. But Cloud9's certainly the favourites to qualify as A2, and as A2 they would play Surge in the first round of the bracket. Single elimination, of course, as we know. Group C then, so Koi have qualified, Toronto, Boston then will play the winner of Team War and Falcons. You know, you've got to assume that Falcons are at least going to get that win, but whether they can beat Boston, another question. You know, you've got to think Boston are going to be the favourites to qualify through a C2. Could be Falcons, but probably Boston. C2 will play Heretics in the first round of the bracket. Then Group B. This is the big one, really, right? Because 100 Thieves are going to play Orchid or Gentlemates, and they already 3-0 Gentlemates, and Orchid are, you know, one of the weaker challengers teams, you would think. So it's tough to imagine that 100T lose that. So we're very, very likely right now to get 100 Thieves versus OpTic round 1 game in the quarterfinals. One of those teams bombs out top 8, right? Like, that is going to be pretty crazy, and it is very likely to happen right now. And then Group D, is FaZe Clan. Now, Project 7, that's the former Omit Brooklyn team that Omit absolutely slammed in the grand finals at Challengers Champs. So it's very unlikely that Omit would lose to them on this occasion. So it seems very likely indeed that we get FaZe versus Omit as the decider game in Group D. And that's going to be a banger rematch. Like, I hope that Omit can live up to what they said and be like, okay, look, we didn't beat you the first time, but this time we're actually going to take you down. And yeah, we'll see if they could do it, because it would be nice to see a Challengers team make it into the bracket play. I mean, at the expense of FaZe would be just such a crazy storyline, but it's certainly not impossible. But assuming that FaZe win, which they're favoured to do, they would play Toronto round 1. So yeah, we've got some mega games on our hands. Whatever happens, this is the order of those said games. So it's 5 Fears G2, Orchid Gentamates, Team War Falcons, Project 7 Omit. Those are the first 4 games, and after that there's a couple of more match sets. The 100 Thieves game is at 6 my time, and it's the FaZe game, which is basically the last one of the day. So very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.